Hey, everybody. Sorry, I'm like a couple seconds late because I got a DM on Twitter. How's it going? I know it's Monday. It's not the day that I normally do the thing, but I have a good reason. All right. I don't have a good reason, but I have a reason, and that is it's a day that I'm going to be making a new video. I'm premiering it. It comes out at 2 o'clock. So I'll tell you guys a little bit about it. Hello, Hellfox. So let me tell you guys a little bit about what's going on. This is not going to be a regular thing, by the way. This is just a celebratory Monday thing. But on Mondays in the distant future, so in Mondays from here on out, I'm going to be making these weekly videos that are going to be kind of a quick take videos. They're going to be vlog style. Think like more like a Vlogbrothers video than like my videos. And they're going to be more on something with a little bit more topical with a quick turnaround or something like that. So that's my plan. That's my plan for Mondays. You're still going to get your Thursday content. There's still going to be Thursday stuff. And Phoebe is here to say hi. Hello, Phoebes. Anyways, so that's all going to happen. I also want to tell you guys a bit about the CK2 stream that didn't happen because I found that I had way too much crap to do before the end of the week. So, all right, she's just going to, she has kind of like a little area on my desk, so I'm just going to clear that out for her. So the CK2 stream will happen. It's just going to happen later in the month. Next Saturday, I'm going to be, that's Phoebe. Next weekend, I'm going to be in the YouTube space, and then I'm visiting a friend that evening in another city. So I won't be able to do it next weekend, but the weekend after, I think on the 20th, I'm going to be able to do the CK2 stream. I tried some stuff out with OBS, so I know that it works at least. And yeah. And now we have coming up at 2 my Monday videos. So you're going to get Monday videos. You're going to get Thursday videos. Thursday stream's still going to be a thing. Cat does not knock my cup off of the desk. And I will try to... so my plan is you're going to have content coming out every Monday and Thursday with a stream on Thursdays as well. So 2 videos a week. But luckily, I found that I can actually record my Monday videos in not a lot of time. So hopefully the Monday things won't take too much time, but you get more stuff in the midweek. So that's my hope. And at the moment, I'm under the gun because I have five video scripts that need to be finished before the end of the week because I'm going to the YouTube space on Saturday to film the next 5 videos, basically all of February. So I'm busy filming writing up February. So that's all my things. And I am excited to have this be 2018 because right now I'm actually like the channel's doing really well. There's some really cool stuff. The stats are really good. I've gotten a huge spike in views in the last day or so, and I don't know where it comes from. So things are going really well. SciShow made a video about the Spanish flu, which resulted in me getting a big spike in traffic for like an hour. So what do you guys want to talk about today? Hello, Mark 2000s. Happy anniversary. I will always... Oh, geez. Come on, Ace. You got to be a better partner than that. I know you're just goofing. You better be goofing. Especially because I'm only talking for about an hour. So The only other thing going on is that I'm also doing my D&D stuff tonight. My wife and her coworker friends have a D&D group going, and I run it. And this is the second session, so I'm excited to do that. And yeah, prepping to film some stuff Saturday. Sir Zhao Zhao goes back to school tomorrow. This is like, for some reason this year, I think this school year was the first one where I'm not going to have to go to classes anymore, which is crazy. Hello, David Sadecki. Zekedi. David Zekedi. That's it. That's what I'm going to go with. Zekedi. Looks like I don't have to teach anymore, which makes me a little sad, but also kind of relieved. It means I can do this for you guys more often. So what do you guys want me to talk about? I am your toy. It's quiet uptown. How's college? Oh, that's for Ace. Okay. I'll just let you guys talk to each other, and I'll just stay here and do my homework. I don't have any homework. Iran. Well, David, you are very lucky, David, because that is the topic of my first series on Monday. My first video, the video that you're going to see in like an hour. It's going to be called. That's what it's going to be. How's the Gnosticism video going? It hasn't started yet. It is an idea in a database of video ideas that has scored according to how well it fills certain attributes, and I will do it when I get to it. But the request that you guys gave has not been affected, so you guys will just have to. When I come to it, I'll come to it. But it's a good idea. I have a whole system for choosing video topic ideas. I'm actually working on. It's funny because like I'm working on situations where I'm working on videos now that won't even be out until the end of February. So like my cycle's so long that by the time a video actually comes out, I feel like I've gone over it 1,000 times. The idea of Gnosticism really pisses off Christians, if that helps. I mean, I'm not going to do a video about Gnosticism. It's just that I have lots of stuff. So, main Thursday video, quick Monday video, and PhD. Would you say that you have good time management? Because otherwise it seems really difficult. It does seem really difficult, and it is. I pretty much... at the moment, basically, I'm in a situation where I can be a little bit lazier when it comes to progress on my PhD because I still have quite a while before it needs to be done. But right now, I'm in a situation where I'm YouTubing a lot more than I probably should. So maybe I'm not on top of it as well as I should be, but also I kind of don't have any free time when I'm not like... You know, I hang out with my wife on the evenings. We have some food, and we watch some TV, and then I work in the evening from like about 8 o'clock until bedtime. I pretty much work every waking hour, so that's how I do it. I have the 7-day work week. That's pretty much how I do it. What's your religion? My religion is that. My religion, I think, has been labeled as apatheism, which is a form of agnosticism, which believes that the question of whether or not God exists isn't important. And I don't really care about the question about whether or not a God exists. And if one did exist, I don't think that it would change my behavior in any way. I kind of have this strange thing where it's like, even if a God did exist, why am I under any obligation to do what they say? All right. Audible Anarchist obviously really wants the Gnosticism video. The PhD is... The choice to do a PhD is very difficult because at the moment, it's you know, it's happening. It's working. It's being worked upon. But also, it's a thing that's more long-term. It's also a thing that if I finish my PhD, I will actively hurt my career prospects. It's like, actually, there's this whole thing, and it's really paradoxical, but in education, if you get a PhD, you have a lower chance of getting hired at a lot of jobs because you're quote-unquote overqualified. And I don't have any intentions of following the hamster wheel of trying to get into the university system. And so I'm doing the PhD because I want to do it and I'm interested in it, but I also know I'm actively hurting my career by doing it, which sounds really strange. Do videos on... Okay. I'll write these down because I actually haven't done many. I don't remember the name of the the Chinese pirate lady, but Sir Zhao Zhao, in Anita Sarkeesian's series on women in history, she actually covers her, and it's really good. So if you want to see a good rundown on her, go check out Feminist Frequency's video on it. Can't you just leave your PhD off your resume? I technically could, but then I also would have to leave 4 years of work experience off my resume. So, like, I couldn't tell them that I was a TA for 4 or 5 years, and then have a master's degree as my highest level of education that happened like 5 years ago. It would be a gaping hole in my experience. So when it comes to doing a PhD, you have to be somebody who's very, very dedicated, because if you're not super dedicated, I don't see... If you're not super dedicated to doing a PhD, you are going to have a tough time with getting work afterwards, no matter what you do. And so, you know, it's very much a passion project. Her videos on video games are ridiculous, though. I guess I'm actually not even like crazy about video games, so I don't really know whether or not she shit talks a lot of. I didn't think her. I thought her video game criticism was all rather banal stuff. Like, it's very like basic feminist theory stuff that you would learn in any film school. But whatever. Is Canada a nice place? It's all right. It's a colonial country with settler colonists and committed genocide, built upon the genocide of indigenous peoples, and still has glaring income inequality, racial inequality. But we also always try to pat ourselves on the back because we're slightly less bad than the United States. And so, I don't know. Canada is an all right place, but also I've never lived anywhere else, so I can't really say much to that extent. Why does your PhD negatively affect your resume? Well, the thing is that if you go and look for a job as a PhD graduate, a lot of people who see the PhD on their resume for an applicant for an entry-level position, there's a couple things. One, if you get a PhD and you apply for a job, the people who work at the job are basically going to assume that you are going to demand higher pay than somebody else applying for the same job. Second of all, there's a corporate hierarchy that always exists, even in like, you know, the public sector and everything. And they will assume that PhDs will be very smart and competent, and they don't want anybody who challenges their authority. Three, having a PhD will also hurt your chances because you'll be something what they call overqualified for an entry-level position, where they think that getting a PhD is very valuable, and that having a PhD's education means that you're, one, looking for a university job, or two, going to land in a very high-paying job higher up on the ladder. And neither of these are true, but they think it is, and so they won't hire you under the thought that if they trained you for your job, that you're just treating it like it's a middle seat on your way to something bigger. And so they will think that, well, why should I train this candidate for this job if they're just going to leave as soon as something better comes along anyway? And so all of those things result in it being extremely difficult to get work after you finished a PhD. My wife went through this personally, and she had an extremely difficult time. She got her first steady, even now she's like an intern, but she got her first job that she can say she feel really good about almost a year after she finished her PhD. And then even then she kind of found her career track, the thing she's doing now, almost 2 years after finishing her PhD. So it's tough. Well, what can I say about Canada that's good? Canada's a fun country. It has a few things that I can say that make Canada very nice. Things that I'm very proud of, things that I like about it. Like, Canada has, I think, the highest percentage of immigrants per capita, which makes diversity of peoples and languages and cultures very, very high. And Canada, in opposition to a lot of countries out there, decided to double down and embrace this. And I actually think that's really awesome, because it means that people from all walks of life are in our society and welcomed for what they do. And not told to assimilate like in the US, but they're told to just be who they are. And you just that's just kind of cool. And I like that kind of mentality towards culture. And as you probably guessed, my YouTube series, especially things like my religion videos, talk a lot about that. Where Canada falls short, though, is that Canada, compared to our European friends, has a sorely lacking social safety net. Our welfare system's not as good as in Europe. Our education system's not as good. Our medical system's not as good as in Europe. And I really wish that Canada had higher income equality like in Europe. So the things that I really want for Canada in the medium-term future that I will vote for, because these are issues you can actually deal with, are free education all the way to university, which we don't have. We still have to pay tuition in Canada. We still have student loans in Canada. And two, I want a comprehensive medical system that covers things like dentistry and psychiatry, and also covers drugs completely. So, those things that Europeans tend to have, but we don't, are kind of the thing. Well, I have no idea. David, I have no idea what these standards are like in Eastern Europe. Honestly, I would love to have a lot of the social and economic policies of Scandinavia. I think that a lot of those would probably do very well for Canadians, but that's an ideal. That's something that I think Canada could do with the parties that are available in the near-term future. Just need, anything more radical will take a longer time and require major changes in our technology and our material reality, if you will. Have you played any Fallout games? I have. I have played Fallout 3, but not very much. I've probably played in total about maybe 2 hours, and I never really got super far. As for Bethesda games in general, though, I have played a decent amount of Skyrim. I think I bought Skyrim back in 2011 when it first came out, and I played a good amount of it, but I haven't played it in years. And I'm trying to think of some other Bethesda games. And I think that's about it. Could you just ask nicely for socialism? I think for some socialist policies that would make life a little bit better for Canadians, we could ask nicely. I do think that if we did vote for certain parties in Canada and we push things, we do have enough money. We do have the resources to have a country that comprehensively covers the cost of education and healthcare. When it comes to things like dismantling capitalism in the state, I think that that's going to be a very different discussion and a much more long-term discussion. But I think that at least covering the services that people need is not a radical position. And as far as making things better for a lot of people in the near-term future, it's a thing to work for. Do you sometimes wish that you had a government that promoted self-reliance and free will like in the US instead of being given handouts? I don't really see things in that fashion. I don't see things as that isolationist in my head. I think that any society, be it of any group of people, is interdependent, no matter what you say. There's no such thing as a completely independent person. So, and honestly, societies are stronger when we help people when they're at their weakest, and when you're strongest, you're helping your fellow person. So codifying that in our laws is not a bad thing. If anything, I think that ideas like self-reliance are myths. I think that there are system-justifying beliefs that we say to ourselves when we see people starving in the streets, and we want to tell ourselves that it's their own fault. But honestly, it is a system that has broken down and has failed somebody at their darkest hour. And I don't know how anybody could watch somebody starving in the streets or homeless or unable to afford healthcare and say, I don't know. I don't have that kind of sociopathy. I'm not a sociopathic person who is ignorant of the suffering of others and seems to be able to shrug it off. And so, no, I don't see it as being given handouts, I guess. What do you think about the UK? It's got good beer. I was there. I've been there once. I had a good time when I was there. Went a little bananas with Brexit, and I hope that they somehow walk back from the edge that they're about to jump off of. Do you like Trudeau? I am very, very underwhelmed by Trudeau. He swindled me into voting for him during the 2015 campaign. And I voted for him specifically for electoral reform, and that was the exact policy he walked back on. And I think I've learned my lesson that you really can't trust liberals. And Justin Trudeau is kind of this empty neoliberal prime minister who is an empty neoliberal prime minister who just has this like social media strategy, and he argues for these very banal, socially progressive ideals, but then doesn't follow up on them in any meaningful way. So he became prime minister on saying that he was going to, fix electoral reform, marijuana legalization, new relationship with the indigenous peoples, and that he was an open and proud feminist. And then he became prime minister, and despite calling himself a feminist, sold weapons to Saudi Arabia. And he reneged on everything he said he was going to do for indigenous peoples, reneged on everything he said he was going to do about electoral reform, and I guess he legalized marijuana. Cool. Isn't the U.S. a society that gives the most to charities, though? Well, yeah, because the United States doesn't have the basic systems that are needed to make their society function. The United States is a country where their government is so happy to do nothing for its fellow people who are in their greatest need, and yet they just still like they're like okay with that, and so they want to like put their reliance in these private organizations that raise money that can really discriminate or block or embezzle as much or as little as they want, and somehow think that that's going to cover for the fact that they're a country that, in order to give money to the richest people in their country, decided to gut even the most basic things that people need to survive, which is the most disgusting thing I've ever heard. Spherical Cube. Hey, how's it going? Can you read my jokes from the top of the chat? I actually can't because I can't scroll back that far. What's your favorite politician? Oh, geez, I don't know. I liked Nikki Ashton when she was running for leader of the NDP in Canada, but she didn't win, and Jagmeet Singh won, and he's kind of a disappointment, but he's also like person. So I guess that's just how it is. We'll see how it goes. Okay, Axel Procope, please, I'm going to give you just a warning. Are you... Yeah, you're using transphobic language. Could you please not? At least it sounds like you're using transphobic language. I do think that Americans wouldn't feel bad about paying taxes for things if their taxes were actually used for public good. Unfortunately, a lot of the U.S.'s money goes towards like violent military technology and, wasting it overseas or assassinating socialist leaders. So, yeah, the United States wastes a lot of its money. It spends more money than we do on healthcare because it insists on it being public, so it has to give money to private corporations to make money. The U.S., if the U.S. adopted a public healthcare service just like ours, they would actually save tons and tons of money. It's the weirdest thing. For all things, but especially for certain things like medicine and food and stuff, it's really difficult for the marketplace to really answer things. Oh yeah, I did respond to that. I did respond to that joke. I said to you that I hope that that's a joke, because be a better partner. You should be spending time with your girlfriend, not with me. I'll be around forever. I mean, all right. I'll be around for like at least 20, 30 more years. Oh, there will always be content, but human relationships are beautiful and they're wonderful things to have, and never let them go. What do you think of China's position in global politics and the economy? It's kind of terrifying. I mean, they're a country that they're very, very capitalist, and they are keeping their people kind of in this weird state where they're artificially lowering their currency so that they can keep these like very overworked and very underpaid and very mistreated worker base. And they're also involved in global politics by like influence in the world, especially with the stuff they're doing in sub-Saharan Africa. And so China's starting to get itself a name, or starting to really get involved in the world. And I'm not sure if it's necessarily the best thing for the world. I wish that they treated their people better. I wish everybody treated their people better. Do you think that they should stop making pennies like Canada did? I mean, everybody should, because pennies are useless. I I do think that a good American government would. I think that all of those things you said, Will, are things that are positive ones. Healthcare to the people, no corporate lobbying, and not supporting Saudi Arabia. All those are good things. The U.S. would probably save a lot of money if they didn't make pennies. They waste a lot of money making pennies. A lot of countries do, though. Do you support Rojava? From the stuff I've heard, they seem pretty cool. Although I feel like I am underinformed to make a definite opinion about them. Alrighty. Good job, Ace. A partner who loves history is definitely someone to keep around. Yeah, there you go. Audible anarchist. The system is inefficient because of their adherence to a free market ideology. At least China tries to combat global warming. Yeah. Thoughts on Bitcoin? It's a gigantic waste of resources for a libertarian dream. And it's designed under a standard that's kind of designed like the gold standard, which means that's going to be inflexible and it will be useless in any meaningful economy. As any gold standard economy would be, because the gold standard fell apart for a reason. It caused the Great Depression, basically. It's strange that American pennies are not made out of copper. American pennies are made out of zinc. I think there might be a little bit of copper, but it's mostly zinc. They couldn't afford to make pennies out of copper. Copper's expensive. Do you play Civilization? I played Civilization last night with Cody from the Alternate History Hub on his channel. So I guess I do. I do remember that I bought it back in 2011, and I played it a lot for this happens a lot with me with video games, by the way. I'll buy a video game, then I'll play it a lot. A lot for a day or 2 days. And then I will completely lose my taste for it again. And that has happened to me with Civilization about 7 years ago. And I've never really dug myself back to get back into that, but I should. Your wish is for me to get 100 million subscribers. Oh my goodness. I don't even know if I can handle 100 million subscribers. That's like PewDiePie. That's more than PewDiePie, isn't it? I don't know. Do you fear demographic replacement? Not even a little bit. That's just a really fancy word to say. That's like the stupid that's like the fancy word for the white genocide conspiracy theorists, and it's like, oh god, that's just gross. No, I for one welcome our future gray race. Actually, I don't really care about whatever demographic replacement is for. Seems like their definitions. Do you think the USA should fight in the Middle East to stop ISIS? I think that ISIS has already been stopped, so you really can't defend that either way. And for the most part, the United States played a small role in defeating ISIS. It was mostly Iraq, Syria, and Iran. So the US's role was negligible at best. Will you cooperate with Cody from Alternate History Hub? We mean cooperate. We collaborated on a video a few months ago. My net neutrality video, if you look back, is a collaboration with Cody from the Alternate History Hub, and we made a video on an alternate history scenario where there was no internet. And it was a pretty fun video, so you should check it out. It's from back in October. And yeah, there wouldn't have been ISIS if the U.S. hadn't invaded Iraq in the first place. That is also, I believe, to be true. What if Canada didn't exist, assuming that if the landmass wasn't there? I have no idea. I've never heard of this. I have no idea. I honestly don't know. As you put it, it would just be black. We were on some... Honestly, whatever. I don't really care about skin color all that much. So, biological race is a colonial fantasy. It's not a real thing. It's just, you know, different adaptations to different climates that don't really have any significance beyond your ability to get a sunburn. So honestly, all that stuff about, you know, demographic replacement can get fucked. Or yeah, the Sykes-Picot Agreement is also another reason why the Middle East is kind of a mess. It'd be great if we just didn't make a mess in things. I feel like getting involved, even in situations that the U.S. has already created, will probably just result in more problems. So it's just best to just back out and apologize, really. Oh yeah, Turkey and Russia. I forgot about them. How do you feel about the Syrian civil war? Who should win? Should the UN help install democracy? I hope. I mean, I don't think this is going to happen, but it would be nice. I do hope that at the end of all of the Syrian civil war, that Iraq and Syria can come together and have a conference that splits up their two countries into borders that make sense. From what it looks like, it probably looks like Bashar al-Assad's going to take over and just kind of put back whatever he had. Who knows what it will be like after that. But as for who should win, I don't think it's my place to say. I don't really have any preference. If there's like, you know, maybe we can go with Rojava. I want Rojava to win. They sound probably the most like on the level of all the people who are fighting each other out there. Okay, so I don't really care what happens to the white race or any race because race is not a thing. Race is not a thing that exists. It is a made-up thing. Race is shit that colonists made up to say why apparently somebody is better or worse because their skin color is slightly different. It is the most stupid idea in all of human history. And you know what? If white people disappear, if any other race disappears, hopefully all race will disappear. Hopefully the word race will disappear. And we'll all find a new word for when we try to run faster than other people in some sort of competition. Honestly, race is bullshit. Race is skin color. It is literally nothing else. There is no other aspect to it. I wouldn't want to defend a skin color in any meaningful way. Skin color is no more important than eye color, hair color, and, you know, I don't see people worrying about blonde people disappearing or the whole thing about redheads disappearing. Like, you're not, like, going through some sort of, like, you're not, like, electing fascist dictatorships to preserve the redheaded race. Like, no, it's bullshit. Yeah, I'll just ignore him. Yep, you are done. There we go. All right. Alt-right shithead removed. Okay, so where should we go? You think there'd be less problems with nations sending troops to the Middle East if they wore the UN peacekeeping uniform instead of their nation's uniform? I don't know. Honestly, dealing with such a situation would be... I mean, the UN peacekeepers, their job isn't really to do that kind of thing. The UN peacekeepers' job is usually to go to an area and enforce safe zones, or in a war zone, their job is to enforce safe zones. And after a war, they're to prevent violence from breaking out in kind of the after-war period. There's not enough UN peacekeepers to just come in and end the Syrian civil war. The Syrian civil war is kind of one of those things that might need to just end on its own. And honestly, it would probably end faster if we didn't have so many countries like artificially giving it oxygen in order to win some sort of like dumb geopolitical fight. What's your take on the Israel-Palestine conflict? That's I don't want to do that fast and without concision. So I do think I'm not a two-state solution person. I do think that if any two-state solution that would be worked out now would result in a Palestinian state that is very resource poor and diplomatically isolated and landlocked, and that would be really, really shitty. I do wish that I do think that the trick now would be to find some way to get rid of apartheid in Israel and try to bring together two peoples who are in a very very violent and dangerous situation. And I had a talk about this. I was talking with if anybody you guys know the channel Thought Slime, it's a good channel. You should check it out. Him and I met for coffee on the weekend, and I said that we talked a little bit about the Israel-Palestine stuff, and I said that it's one of those issues that there's not a good answer. There is no good answers, period. And I think that any long-term solution for Israel is one that's going to take multiple decades of truth and reconciliation, rehabilitation, and really trying to like restore, is really trying to find a way to make two peoples live together after a long history of violence, which can be very, very hard. And so it's going to be tough. It's going to be a decades-long process. But the thing is that the healing process needs to start. And unfortunately, everyone seems to think there's like a quick answer to solving the Israel-Palestine problem. And the problem won't even start to be solved unless we realize that it's going to take like a generation of people learning to understand each other and see each other as human, which can be very tough. Who should pay on rebuilding Iraq? I mean, the U.S. should probably pay reparations for destroying Iraq. That would be fun. Your opinion on the coup back in Turkey back in 2016? I think that all of the details on that coup have not come out yet, because I think there's some stuff that has to do with the ruling regime that might be interesting if it ever gets public. What is the prison complex in Canada? America has had a pretty bad... We still have prisons. We don't have things like mandatory minimum sentences in Canada. They tried, but we didn't. I think we got rid of them in the Justice Omnibus Bill that happened back during the Harper years. But I think haven't heard anything specifically terrible about our prisons, except that they're probably some of the same problems as the American prison system. It's just smaller. A lot of the times you can tell that you can assume that Canada's social problems are very much like the Americans' problems, except on a lower volume. Opinion on Gandhi? Ooh, that's a lot to unpack. Do you support a united Ireland if the Irish want it? I support people having the right to live in any context that they feel suits them. If Ireland, I mean, I don't think the North Irish want to join Ireland, so why force them? At this point, I actually think that Ireland is kind of in a situation, or North Ireland anyway, is a situation where the UK would love to give them back to Ireland. It's just that they have to, like, just the North Irish don't want to. Favorite president of the USA? That's a good question, too. See, there are always things like, there's no president, I think, that I unanimously like. There are presidents who did some things that I like. There are presidents who, there are presidents who have done things that I think were really good and really, really inspired, but they always have some horrible thing that they've done. FDR is a pretty decent president. The whole New Deal program was a pretty good idea given the context he was in. I wish that he had gone further, but you know, that's how it is. I do think that history will be kinder to Richard Nixon for initiating détente during the Cold War. I think that his bucking of the Cold Warrior mindset and talking to the other side, talking to the communists and trying to end the ridiculous, you know, the ridiculous eccentricities of the Cold War was a smart idea, and starting the START program. And yet, you know, yeah, exactly. FDR put the Japanese in internment camps. Nixon friggin' did Watergate. Like, there's no good president, really. Does Canada have an obesity problem like in the US on a smaller scale? I mean, I think so. Yeah. I think it's maybe on a smaller scale, but it's still pretty bad, I think. Communism good for any country whole? I don't like, I don't know. I don't think communism can be brought around by any sort of violent revolution and be successful. I know that that's a horrible, I know that there's a lot of leftists out there who will get super mad at me for saying that, but I do think that violent revolutions tend to only result in the worst, most violent people coming to power. Doesn't really matter the ideology. It's all about the personalities involved. And that seems to be pretty much a law of nature. And so I would prefer to not solve my political problems with violent revolution, because it's not going to solve anything. It'll just make a lot of people's lives worse and exacerbate a cycle of violence. All right, like it game. If you mean like communism from like the theoretical standpoint, yeah, sure. Things if we woke up tomorrow and all of a sudden we were in a communist society, life would probably be better for more people. But the point of getting to a communist society is the problem. It's the murder and death and destruction that comes with revolution that almost invariably leads to people who are opposed to you who have a personal stake in the outcome because you've like literally killed people they care about. Any communist groups still around, like the neo-Nazis? Oh, shit, yeah. They're called tankies. They're everywhere. Just like, what's it called? Friggin' the tanky turf asshole Jason Unruhe. He's like a communist on YouTube. What is socialism exactly? Socialism is a form of government that believes in the power of, depending upon what kind of socialism, but it's basically an idea of taking the means of production, all right. It is the form of government that uses Marx to inform its economic policies. But communism is a state where we kind of go post-state. So socialism is usually seen as like the stepping stone towards communism, and communism being the time where things just completely are without a state, without ownership, without anything. What is the Canadian Communist Party up to these days? The Canadian Communist Party is a very small Marxist-Leninist party that really doesn't get any more than like 0.1, 0.2% of the popular vote. I think I saw that like if there was perfect proportional representation in Canada, there would probably be one communist MP in Parliament, but there is not. But they're tankies mostly. Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt was good on a few things, bad on a lot of things. He was He was a warmonger. He was a colonialist. He was super, super, super racist. He brutalized the people of the Philippines, brutalized the people of Cuba, and conquered territory. He brutalized people of Cuba when he was in Cuba as a Rough Rider, but as president, he thought America should have like a global empire. And so he was not great, not really, but stuff like his antitrust suits and his belief in progressive values for the 1900s. Yeah, good stuff. He's like every other president. There's bad stuff and there's good stuff. There's no such thing as a universally good president, and I mean there's probably some universally bad presidents, but I can't think of any that are universally good. Yeah, Aryan doesn't get thrown around too much these days because it has that coded Nazi symbology. And today, Nazis try not to associate with their old Nazi ways. And so now they don't want to call themselves Nazis. They want to call themselves the alt-right, or they don't say things like white genocide. They now say demographic replacement. So the thing about Nazis, and there's actually a really great ContraPoints video about this, where she explains that like the term for Nazis, there's the word, like Nazis are always changing their symbols and their words and their lexicons in order to circumvent the nastiness that comes with being called a Nazi. Is there good things to say about the current USA president? The best thing that you could possibly say about the current USA president is that he's kind of an inept, like, moron. All of the horrible things that have been happening in America are due to ambitious, party line Republicans getting everything they ever wanted. And Trump himself, like, I probably hate Mitch McConnell more than I hate Trump, because at least Trump's an idiot. Trump has no idea what the fuck he's doing. But Mitch McConnell is an opportunistic fucking vulture that's using this situation to implement things that are going to make Americans' lives worse for years and years to come. Trump also, though, has, like, allowed this vitriolic racist rhetoric that has really ruined so many people's lives in the last couple of years. Do you like Luxembourg, like the country, or Rosa? I don't really have many thoughts on Canadian prime ministers at the moment. Punching Yahtzees, yay or nay? I mean, I'm not going to tell you to do it, but I'm also not going to reprimand you for doing it. I mean, I get it. I just wouldn't do it myself. How hot does that take? Do you see a solution for the Korean Peninsula problem? I think Trump deleting his Twitter could help. It seems that actually, despite Trump, North Korea and South Korea are actually trying to bury the hatchet. They're getting along quite a bit. North Korea and South Korea, I think that at his New Year's address, Kim Jong-un actually said a lot of stuff about looking forward to participating in the Olympics, and they've opened up a dialogue with South Korea, which is nice. That's a positive step. I think that one of the most embarrassing things that could happen this year is that Kim Jong-un could turn out to be the most, could turn out to be the grown-up and back away from this pissing contest with the United States and just be like the grown-up in the situation, which will make America look so silly in the long term. But as for like a long-term solution for like Korean reunification, that I hesitate to say it's a long way away because, you know, nobody thought that the Berlin Wall was going to collapse until it did. But I think that you'd have to wait for like an interior coup from within the North Korean government for anything serious to happen. Well, FEMA camps didn't happen. So what happened to FEMA camps? FEMA camps didn't happen because they never existed. They were a right-wing conspiracy theory that was made to drum up stuff against Obama. But now that a black person isn't president, the people who are worried about FEMA camps aren't worried about them anymore. I'm honestly, like, when it comes to, I'm not, when it comes to punching Nazis, I'm not going to yell at you for doing it. I understand. I just wouldn't do it myself. I get it. And it felt really good to watch Richard Spencer get punched in the head, like really good. But yeah, it's still like, probably shouldn't do that. But, you know, I can't tell you what to do. I can't. But it was really great to see. What do you think about Prince Philip? I think he's amusing. He's kind of this like old man who says dumb racist shit, and then he like has perpetual foot and mouth syndrome. He's like our embarrassing. He's like the country's embarrassing uncle. He always just says dumb stuff. But he's also like 96, so like who cares what he has to say? Unfortunately, it's everyone because he's a prince. All right, so do we have any last questions? We're going to be wrapping up. We have about two minutes, two and a bit. We have, does anyone have any, I'm going to do quick rapid fire stuff now, I think. Hi from Lebanon. Hello. I hope that Lebanon's treating you well. Do you think monarchy is outdated? Monarchy was outdated centuries ago. Oh, hey, I got shouted out by Peter Coffin on Twitter. Ace, you're having identity issues. What's your identity problem? What is your identity issue? What is your major malfunction? Our president's outdated. They're getting there. Iran should go back to the Shah. Definitely not. I think that they're good. I mean, they could be better, but I think that they would prefer not to have a Shah. I think that they're hope we'll see what happens after this whole thing, right? Should we revolt against our kings and queens? I don't know if we should go that far, unless your king or queen is like a despot. But our queen is kind of a pointless old lady who does a Christmas address. So, like, I don't know. I don't really care. It would be a nice step for democracy if we got rid of the queen, but I also don't. It's not a big deal to me. Hopefully, when she dies, maybe Jeremy Corbyn will be prime minister, and he said he would want to get rid of the monarchy, so it'll be good stuff. All right, ready? All right, it's 2 o'clock, everybody. I'm going to be shutting down. Here is a link to the new video. Have a good week. I'm not going to be here on Thursday because I have to go out of town. But next Thursday, I'll be back for another stream. Peace.